Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, such a lot of interest was created in my little adventure with Lazada and the guitar. It seems like a lot of people play guitar and are interested, so I thought I'd do another video and tell you it was a big disappointment, actually. I'd made up my mind to play. Now I've got to explain before we go any further, a disclaimer. I don't want anybody to be wasting their time telling me, oh, well, that's a particular angle of the dangle guitar and you're describing it incorrectly. I don't play the guitar. I have a love-hate relationship with the guitar, in that I hate to be without one, but when I have one, I love it just because it looks beautiful. Now, that may be difficult for you to understand, but I'm a former professional musician, a trombone player, and I played trombone professionally. So I did recording work, broadcasting, and I did professional career. And somehow, call it arrogance or call it whatever you want, but taking up a second instrument when I put so much work in on the trombone. I also was a singer, and I worked hard at being good at those things. It takes dedication to be good in music. Now, many people can pick up the guitar and they can enjoy playing it just using the chord charts, and that was never my style. Because I read music, I read music at sight, or certainly used to, and so I expected that standard from myself. And so whenever I got another guitar, and I always owned a guitar, I know it may sound strange to people, but I always owned a guitar because I just loved them. And I always ended up giving up after a few sessions of trying. So I never got past the point of hardening up my fingertips even, so don't try to understand that. And as somebody said, when I posted that I bought a classical guitar, actually I did buy a classical guitar, but they didn't send me a classical guitar, they sent me this. And some knowledgeable man said, well, for starters, he admonished me, this is not a classical guitar. That's more like I don't know what he called it, a cowboy thing. But anyway, just so that you know what we were talking about, this is the guitar. And looking at it a second time, it doesn't look quite so bad. Let me just explain that it's very light, and so somehow it gave me a bad impression. But this is the damage. Now, whether you can see that. Now there's the damage, and I'll put it closer. You can actually see, I'm sure. So I did the obvious, and I thought, no, I'm not paying, no matter how cheap it was, and it was cheap. I mean, I think this is a $100 guitar, I'm not quite sure. Is it $100, Beth?
Yeah.
It's a $100 guitar. You can't buy a decent guitar for $100 in America. It's just not possible. The last guitar that I bought when I was in America was $300, and it was a beautiful guitar. Stupid me, I never learned to play. But now I decided that I am going to dedicate the time necessary to do it, because I can recognize that with the time we spend at home now, which is more than usual, I'm going to need something to keep my mind alive and keep the cotton wool at bay. Okay, so I'll repair this myself. I'll repair it. It's not such an incredibly bad damage that I can't fix it up. So I am going to fix it up. Now, with musical instruments, with my trombone, I had several other instruments. I was always quite anal about keeping them in good condition. And I was always extremely careful. I always kept it on the stand. For those of you who know what a trombone looks like, I always kept it on the stand, and when I wasn't right holding it or standing next to it, I used to put it back into the case. This is on a gig. So if we were on a gig, I worked in several big bands. If we were on a gig, I didn't leave it out if we went on a break. So when we had a break, it went back into its case where it was safe. And because of that, it was in beautiful condition. Now, this actually is quite an attractive looking guitar. Now, don't expect me to play it, because as I've just said, I don't play it right now. Here's how well I play it. Good, aren't I? We'll be hoping for some improvement on that. But it's an attractive enough guitar. So I decided that I will repair this, and then this will be the anybody's guitar. The other guitars, which I'll show you in a moment, call me anal, I just don't like other people to be playing the guitar. Not because they'll play it badly, because they'll be, for a long time yet, they'll be much better at playing it than I am. But people just don't seem to be careful with instruments. And whereas I lay them down like they're newborn babies, I hear other people clunk them down, and it brings, as my wife would say, it brings tears to my eyes. So there's the offending guitar, and this one, this is a new thing on me. When I bought the semi-acoustic that I have, I really didn't pay much attention to this, but this is, it's a tuning device. Has what is it? This is it's a 9 volt or something battery, which goes in there like that, and then it has it has a volume knob, 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 little sliders, which makes it like it's a preamp. Haven't even gone into that yet, but I will. And it also has a jack plug socket on it, so it's made to go through an amp, which I have an amp. I have an amp and extension speakers, which I bought for this some time ago. And my friend Will, Little Will, we have 2 Wills. One is a big Will, over 6 feet tall, and the other one is Little Will, who has become Little Will, who's more like my size. So that's the offending guitar. Now, while I was waiting, I should have explained that it was supposed to be delivered 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days. I think, wow. So when I really made up my mind, hey, I'm going to do it, I've got everything that I need, and I do it. So I was ready. 5 days later, I was chomping at the bit. My God, my guitar will be here any time now. 5 weeks, I think it was, later, was when I finally got it, and then the big disappointment that it was damaged. And then the even bigger disappointment of the big hassle of trying to send it back. What would I do? In the meantime, at about 3 weeks, I decided that we would drive up to, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks. This was like last week when we went and we had a couple of days at that beautiful resort in Panglao. The initial reason for doing that and going on that trip to Tagbilaran was to buy me a guitar. I got tired of it. I said, I'm just going to buy a guitar. and then to hell with it, they can just take it back. I don't want it. And that was when I got this guitar. So this is the guitar that I bought, and it is actually, now that I've got it home, it is actually a beautiful guitar, and it does have the cutaway, which is what I wanted. Now I know that people are going to be telling me, the ones that are very expert on these things, and I'm going to be the village idiot. I know that, but I'm not professing to know everything, and I'm not going to try to blind you with my skill, because how long could you listen to this? Didn't I do well? So this is quite a nice guitar, and I made sure that the tuning keys on it were not like the one that I'm going to show you, which is a much more beautiful guitar than this, but has these cheaper tuning keys. You see, with this one, they're all metal and chromed and will not break up. This is a cast. This is cast, and it will take the pressure of tightening the strings. So that's it. Now this doesn't have that tuning because, and this is why I said that it was a classical guitar. It was for playing classical. Now I know that I can learn chords, but what I intend to do is to learn all the notes, and I already know the theory of this, so I should have a head start. But of course, sometimes people may love an instrument and just not have an aptitude for it. Personally, when I had access, when I was in the army for 8.5 years, when you're in an army band, you have the instrument, the place where all the instruments are kept. They supply an instrument. They can't expect other people to have their own instrument. Although you couldn't possibly play on the trombones that they have unless you're in a very wealthy band. So I could have chosen to learn to play any second instrument, and I did do a little work on piano when I went to the Royal College of Music in Twickenham. I could have learned. So I could have tried, and I did try a few things. I mean, saxophone, I had no aptitude for the saxophone at all. If I played it, it honked like a seal, and that was all that it did. I tried the flute, and I blew into the flute, and I could have blown all day long, and I still wouldn't have gotten a note. Whereas you see them there, and they got the flute up, and they go, and they've got their lips pursed prettily, and they get a beautiful sound. I thought that would be for me. I like the alto sax. I just don't have an aptitude for them, and I see them fiddling about with their the reeds that they have. I thought, I can't do it. But when I took the trombone, it was completely natural, right? You may reserve your judgment about how good I am. You can go on this channel, and you can go and find, if you're patient enough, among our 11,000 plus videos, you can find one that's titled Masquerade, and you can hear how I played the trombone. So don't expect me to play. I'm really just talking about the aesthetics. I'm a sculptor and an artist and a designer, of which I do have an aptitude. And I look at this, and I could see that the action was not too high. I felt that I could play it. I did play, I did sound it to see what the sound is like. And it seems to me to be playing quite nicely. it's a nice tone. So even though it doesn't, some of them have a tuner. The guitar that I'm going to show you that I really love, that I bought some 6 or 7 years ago, has a tuner, and it has a little glass area, a little bit like a spinet level, and when it gets in tune, it shows you on there. I've never used it. It doesn't even have a battery in it, but it will as soon as I get it repaired, which I'll go on to in a minute. So looking at this, it is actually, the more that I look at it, the happier I am that I bought it. Now this cost me 5,200 pesos, but they didn't have a case. Can you imagine? Now the man who one of our subs who made a comment said, well, as if it was the final Logic, which for him it was. He said, what, you don't have music stores? And the truth is, no, we don't. And my response to him was, no, actually no, we don't have a music store in Talibon. If we drive nearly 3 hours, we can go to Tagbilaran, and there are several music stores, well, several stores there that sell guitars. This is the one of the stores I bought this guitar from, and this was one of several that were identical. So they all looked exactly the same. So I went around, and with my devastating skill, I pinged every one of them. And this one was by far the best pinger. So I'll be learning to ping a little bit better than that as time goes by. So there's my lovely guitar. I'll put that down. And I'll show you the guitar that I really would like to be able to be playing, and that's this. Now, I would call, somebody called this a thin guitar or a narrow guitar, because if you'll see, it's half the width of the guitar that I just showed you. Now, this is, it's a really beautiful guitar. It's beautifully made. Now, I bought this because I looked at it, I looked at the workmanship, I looked at how beautifully it was made. And it really is. The grain is matched. It has a line down the center, which is very, very nice. It is made to be played with an amp, and it has the tuner. Now I'll show you the tuner close up. If you can see this there, and the little round bit is where it shows you that you are in tune or not, apparently. So this is the one that feels, it just feels right to me as a non-player, but it feels right to me. So I just feel sure that this is a guitar that I'll be very much at home with, and it is beautiful. So as an artist and a musician, I did look at the quality of the workmanship. Now this poor guitar has sat in a case gathering dust in a corner for close on 7 years, because I bought this soon after Beth and I got married and we came to live in Bohol, and I bought this guitar, and when I went over to Cebu, because I don't remember it's on the main road between Cebu Central, and it goes along and it goes towards Basak, which is where we lived, and so it's there. There's another mall that's there, and that's as much as I remember. I could find it, but it was a guitar. It was a shop that specialised in guitars, and for the price, this was 5,000. Let me see. I think that this may have been 5.8. I'm not sure, but even if it was 6,000, it's a beautiful guitar. And I'm looking at it purely on aesthetics, and I did go around, and of course, musician of my quality and caliber, I pinged it. that's the one where the keys are breaking up. Now, I'll try and show this to you there. Can you see that the two top keys on the right do not have the little black pad on them, so it means that you can't tune. So this is made of kind of a rubbery plastic, evidently brittle thing, because when it was put under stress it just broke up. So my solution to that will be to fit new keys of the quality that you have seen on the guitar that I just showed you, and so I'm waiting, and while I was waiting to see if I could find a place that will sell me these keys, that's when I embarked on my buying another guitar. That's now 4 or 5 weeks ago. In fact, probably more. So here I am, I'm saddled with this beautiful guitar that I'm certainly not going to give up on, and will hope to be playing soon. Now, a lot of you may be asking, well, why don't you just go to the guitar shop that you bought it? Well, because we live on Bohol and the guitar shop is on Cebu. And at the moment they're going through that particular madness where they're sticking these things up your nose, and the one that I watched on YouTube made even my eyes water, because it was about this long and it seemed like he stuck it right up into the man's brain. I'm not going to do that. I'll wait it out, and I will learn on this instrument at the back, the red, right? So I'll work on the red, and I'll wait until somebody will tell me. Eventually, somebody will tell me, you can get it. You can get those parts if you email to. Imagine these six tuners. They'll go into a tiny little box that they could probably put into a manila envelope, and there won't be any problem on the mail, and I'll get them and I'll pay for them cash on delivery, like I paid on that one there. But what could happen to those? They're all metal, and I'm sure that given the right address or the right phone number, I'll be able to order those and have them in a week. So that's my plan for this beauty. Am I going to be playing anytime soon? I would like to think that I'll be able to accompany myself in a relatively short time, but I'm not much of a one for blundering about, and so I will put the time in. Now that I have a guitar, I'll put the time in that I know is necessary. When I was honing my skills on trombone, especially when I was at the Royal Military College of Music in Twickenham, I would be playing for anywhere between 6 to 10 hours a day. Believe me, 6 to 10 hours a day is not unusual. If you look at any of the great players, they, in order to maintain their skill, they probably have to put in 4-5 hours a day to maintain. That's why they're great, because they are dedicated and they put the time in. And once I start to show a little gain, I'm sure that putting a lot of time in will not be a problem. By that time I will have finished my design work on our guest house, in which very soon I'll be putting some time in there. I have some design work which I want to do, which was my old artwork, come sculpting, painting, special effects, that kind of thing is what I used to do, and which is what I'll do again. And as soon as our guest house is fixed, then I'll be able to devote the necessary time to be very skillful at this. I thank you for your attention as I carefully lay my baby down, and I'll be back to complain another day. Lazada, you need to get your act together if you really want to have long-standing, regular, repeat customers. We've had several with Lazada where we just never heard from them again. Fortunately, when it's cash on delivery, but if you want the item, then you want it and you're willing to pay. LBC, I was disappointed with LBC because it just seemed that they were totally disorganized. When I went into Talabon, you almost had to climb over the number of packages that were lying about, and the number of people waiting was daunting. So maybe they need to polish up their act as well, even though the people are very nice. Thanks for looking in. Bye for now.